Hello everybody again. It is really nice to see you all. Today, together with NGI Tetra and NGI Trublo, we have gathered for a webinar on how to start using blockchain for innovation and real-life world projects. Welcome to the session. So just to speak about what is NGI initiative, what does it mean? Please, next slide, Mirko.
One second.
Yes, so NGI, or Next Generation Internet, is an initiative launched by the European Commission in 2016, and it aims to shift the future internet to make it interconnected platform ecosystem that embodies the values that Europe holds dear, that is openness, inclusivity, transparency, privacy, cooperation, and protection of data. And now a bit about the hosts of today's webinar. So the webinar is hosted together by NGI Tetra and NGI Trublo. So Tetra is a business accelerator helping projects that have received funding through NGI open calls to successfully enter the market through access of training, mentoring, and networking. So today, from the Tetra side, we have myself, Inga from Startup Division, and Justin as well. And now I would like to give the word to the representative of NGI Trublo. Mirko, please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Mirko Lawrence. I'm based in Cologne in Germany. I'm working in the consortium of Trublo. My company that I work with is Deutsche Welle, Germany's international broadcaster. And NGI Trublo, again, is part of this family of projects promoting innovation across Europe. We are kind of, I think the best description is a hybrid accelerator, because we are accepting scientific projects, but are increasingly looking for ideas that could potentially go commercial. What we're trying to do is help in 45 projects that we're going to fund to do the first steps. They are all blockchain projects. I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to apply. And here's our agenda for today. We are very, very happy to have Andrius Bartminas with us as the main speaker today. He's our expert. He will basically talk, and you see the agenda already. I will hand over to him in just a few minutes. And we're really excited. I mean, the interesting thing about blockchain is while it has its ups and downs since 2016, 2018, we are all starting from the same page. There are few really established companies. There's such a wide open space. Sometimes it feels a bit like Wild West, but anyhow, out with the pistols and trying to settle somewhere. So later we're going to talk very shortly about NGI Trublo. I want to give you like a 5-minute overview about how the application process, because we currently have Open Call 3 open. And in order to have even more perspectives, we have brought members from 3 funded projects from the other open calls, from the 2 open calls that we already did, which will be Sharp, represented by Philippe, Vehicle Chain, presented by Thoralf, and Onto the Chain Trustworthiness, OTT-CT, by Mirko. So without further ado, I hope that we have time for questions and answers in the very end. I'm going to speed up a little. If there's any issue, we can send you the presentation, we can get you in touch with the speakers, and we're very happy to talk even if this event is over. So this is like our time together, but we're just separated, not split up. So with that, I would say it's over to Andreas, and I would ask you to share your screen and start your presentation.
Okay, guys, it is a pleasure to be here in such a beautiful company of yours. So today's presentation, I will try to squeeze as much information as possible, because half an hour for such, for such topic is a little bit too short. But let's try to do this quick. I will try to go through the technicals in more shallow way, not to go into more details, because that is a technical side. And but still, I have some slides just for your information to understand some technical details about the blockchain. So I'm representing SuperHow. I'm a co-founder and CEO of the company. So we established the company in 2018. So the crypto winter, not so good times for blockchain and cryptocurrencies and overall. But our idea was to establish, the competence center in Lithuania to build the best private research and innovation lab that we can do. So in cooperation with universities and talent pool that we can approach. So basically our lab is focused on key technologies. Blockchain is one of the fundamental, I would say, technology stack that we are doing research, scientific research as well. And artificial intelligence, extended reality, and quantum computing is additional technologies that usually is used in cooperation with blockchain or DLT. We also are members of several associations and quite well established in this region. Last year, we also established and we were co-founders of Blockchain Lithuania Competence Center. So it is our extension to the company and open platform for discussing the topic with businesses as well as governmental institutions about the blockchain, breaking myths, and also building competences. So let's start from the blockchain, about the history of the blockchain overall. So just to note, one of the key, I would say, figures who started to write about digital economy in 1997. So he was this person who basically was ahead of the time at that time and basically talked about the digital economy that we have today. Then he, in 2006, basically wrote about Wikinomics, and Wikinomics is about the open collaboration, about how it could be also in economy models, how it could bring some benefits, Web 2.0. So it is basically, so the person is Don Stapscott, and I always recommend to start reading from him about the blockchain and the blockchain revolution. So in 2016, it is already after the blockchain was, like 8 years after the blockchain was already in the market. He wrote a revolutionary book called Blockchain Revolution, and basically talked about lots of different models that we are facing today in the blockchain, about decentralized autonomous organizations, self-sovereign identity, Web 3.0, tokenized goods, intangible goods, non-fungible tokens, and lots of different models that today, basically this crypto economy, as overall we are calling it crypto economy, is facing, and we have those discussions around that. So when it started, so the blockchain started, like, let's assume that it started in 2008 with the Bitcoin network. So the Bitcoin network is the beginning of this venture, the beginning of the story of the blockchains, and basically the person or the group, so it is anonymous because no one knows who it is or what group it is, called Satoshi Nakamoto in 2008. He wrote the white paper about the blockchain, about the digital cash, and basically why he did so. So 2008, it was a financial crisis led by institutional banks, centralized money and centralized governance and etc. And smart people began to look for a alternative for that centralized. And the blockchain and decentralized was the big promise for the future. So in 2009, basically the blockchain was, the Bitcoin blockchain was already live and operational, but no one actually gave a shit about that at that time because no one understood the blockchain, what you can do with it. And it only just a few actually started using, experimenting and all. But is it really 2008? So the blockchain, or the history till the Bitcoin, is much longer. So basically, it took around 40 years of innovation of lots of different technologies that is used for the building of the blockchain model, concept like distributed or decentralized consensus, public-private key infrastructure, and many more. So this is the overall like a picture. So how long it took basically to build that. And today we have already like 13 years after that. So we have a quite long, curve of adoption and history overall. So why blockchain and why that new model? So basically in 2008, as I already mentioned, it was all about the crisis, about decentralized governance, about how people felt about that, and mistrust in that. So basically, the new era of systematical decentralization began. So the personal data with Google, Facebook, the digital identity with SIM swapping. A big deal became not data breach or the hack of the data, but basically hacks of identity. So we have totally new problems in the market. We have a big technological progress with pretty cheap storage, pretty cheap resources on the computing power. We have a single point of failure as one of the big problems in the market of digital economy. So basically, if you centralize, so it is very, you will have a weak point, data manipulation, trust issues, Cambridge Analytica, government policies, and all. So it pushed basically market, like a digital market, to improve itself. And basically, blockchain is one of the technologies that is all about that. And when usually people speaks about like a new generation of internet, so it is called Web 3.0 or next generation of internet. So decentralization is a big part of that. So some technical blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what blockchain is? So blockchain is a cryptographic infrastructure. So first of all, we should establish ourselves that this is a technology, and blockchain doesn't use the internet. Basically, it is the technology that is like a side of that. It uses lots of protocols that internet use, but basically we could use the blockchain without the internet if we had connection, or if we could maintain that connection between the nodes. So blockchain consists of transactions. So we have transactions in the blockchain. So transactions can be anything. We have smart contracts. So it is quite important because I will a little bit later talk about the different blockchains and basically different technologies. It has a long chain of basically blocks who are interconnected between each other. And the current block has a previous block hash. So this is how the chain is created. And the decentralized consensus basically is a big innovation, in my opinion. So this is how the network decides what is the truth on the network. So consensus, when we speak about the consensus, we always hear a lot, about mining. So mining is not basically the process that some person is mining cryptocurrency, but mining is basically provision of infrastructure and resources for the blockchain itself. So it is a little bit more than just earning money from, passive, mining power or hashing power. It is basically the miners or the people who are participating in the consensus. They are providing the infrastructure for the blockchain. They are the blockchain. So aside from that, why is mining so important? So the mining, or like reward for that provision of resources, is the incentivization mechanism behind the distributed or decentralized. So how to incentivize someone to provide the infrastructure without any payment? This is this doesn't have any sense. So the mining is basically game theory plus incentivization, how you reward those infrastructure for providers for providing the infrastructure for the blockchain. Block time. So basically the block like a blockchain is a constantly running machine, so it never stops. Even if there is no transactions at all, there are blocks that are empty, and it never stops. So it is something similar to a constantly going train with train carts, and every cart is a block that you can fill with transactions and information. And I'm not going into technical details how that difficulty or block time is calculated, because it depends on the consensus mechanism. So it can be from seconds, milliseconds, till minutes and hours. So it is every blockchain has its own purpose and its own block time. But it is quite important to understand that basically blockchain never stops. That means that if there is no utilization of the blockchain, so it takes resources, no matter if you're running or not. Yeah, let's go further. So we have tokens. So we have tokens. Tokens could be native tokens, for example, Bitcoin, Ether. Those are native tokens of the blockchain. So you're paying the infrastructure fees, you're paying for infrastructure, and miners or the consensus and blockchain infrastructure providers is basically getting a reward with those tokens. But aside from just having that token as a network token, most of blockchains are capable to have you can create your own tokens. And this is quite interesting, because basically that allows to have different ecosystems that are based on different token economy models. And I know that someone also wrote a question about NFTs, non-fungible tokens. So yeah, non-fungible token is a kind of a token that is unique. And NFT is more like, how to say, it is like an empty box. So it is a model. The essence is what you're putting into that token. So what metadata you are filling that token with. And the uniqueness of that token is described with that metadata, basically. So having tokens, having assets, so tokens can be anything. Tokens can be money, tokens can be assets, tokens can be documents, tokens can be seals, tokens can be anything that you basically can imagine and can create. So basically, you cannot falsificate those because they are unique to the network, and the blockchain itself is an accounting system. You can easily do the transactions, and those transactions are settled within the network. So all the tokens that you are issuing on the blockchain resides on the blockchain. They don't reside in some wallet, they don't reside some off-chain or somewhere else. So all those tokens, they are basically records and entries basically on the blockchain ledger. So what is unique about the blockchain? In an accounting system, everybody knows this double entry accounting. So it is old model how you are dealing with business. So you have this debit and credit, and basically one company is debiting, another company is crediting, and you have to maintain ledgers, you have to maintain that accounting, and then you have to have like third party basically auditing if everything is okay, if everything is settled correctly, and if the records are consistent. So the blockchains work with a triple entry accounting model. This is a very, very innovative way of doing accounting. So basically, you have all the records in the same ledger. So settlement and clearing is one operation. You don't need to check information with other party if it has cash, if it has that resource, and you don't have to do this audit basically because everything is happening on the ledger and it is happening at the same time. So when you do transaction on a blockchain, when you're, for example, exchanging one asset to another, basically that one transaction atomically is doing that switch between the two parties, that ownership or between two parties. So it is very important to understand this model, and it is very difficult to understand basically for people who are working in the accounting for a long time. Because even with some central banks that we had a discussions like 2 years ago, they haven't just, they haven't possibility to wrap their mind about that. And today we already have some scientific papers, scientific research about this topic, about the triple accounting system and the benefits of what it gives to the people. Then we have a key pairs. So this is a cryptographical part of the blockchain. So in every country that has electronic signature infrastructure, so Lithuania has quite established one. So basically, you have the keys, the key pair, basically that you're signing, you're identifying yourself, you're authorizing yourself, and you're doing the signature. Basically, you're signing the transactions. So the blockchain is built around that. The blockchain is built around the key public-private key infrastructure. So basically, that cryptography is allowing to identify the person and authorize the transactions. So if the transaction is signed and published to the network, there is no way to deny that it is not yours, that it is someone else's, because the blockchain uses the same security, the same cryptography that digital signature does. Then we have a blockchain transaction. So I already told about that. So transactions could be also exchange of assets, transfer of assets. It can be messages, because you can attach the messages usually to the transaction. It can have lots of different functions, features, and all, because, for example, when we are speaking about the smart contracts, or basically the second generation networks, so Ethereum started that, so programmability of the network and possibility to write applications and execute those applications on the network level. So basically, transaction can be also a function or some interaction with a smart contract as well. And we have a smart contracts, chain codes, and then KTC. Like, we have a possibility to program and have a code on the network level. Why this is so important? So when we are speaking about the trust between two parties, so it is usually very difficult to ensure that trust. So smart contracts is basically allowing you to have some logic, some business logic that is basically described on a blockchain, and it is executed on a blockchain, which means that even the creator, it is usually very difficult to change that logic. And in that way, you can fully trust what is written. So the smart contract executes the logic in the way that it is written. So it is quite important to understand. And we have lots of different applications on top. We have wallets, explorers, and other. So this field is in current state. It's a big mess, because lots of blockchains have lots of different components, different explorers, different wallets. We have like forks of the network. So Ethereum now have like more than 200 forks. So 200 different blockchain networks that have the same features, same capabilities of Ethereum, with some enhancements, some additional features behind. And that is basically the big portion which is important for the user experience. So users usually use the wallets, usually use the explorers, and some of those are not at the grade of the like a high usability or the high comfort of the users. For example, because as I already mentioned, the key pairs, it is very important side. So you have to handle that information of keys very securely. And usually wallet is that application which allows you to store the keys and to sign the transactions. So in the wallets, you don't hold any tokens, you don't hold any assets. It's more of the application that allows you to interact with the blockchain, to get information from the blockchain and to store the keys and to sign the transactions. Okay, so we have some technical knowledge. Of course, I understand that this, not much, because that is a quite deep topic. And now we are going to the point of no return. So basically now we know the blockchain, we know the history, we know why the blockchain appeared, We know some technicals. So what happens next? So this is a Gartner curve of innovation. So basically, it is the blockchain. So we have lots of different models, business models on top of the blockchain. So we have smart contracts, we have a blockchain platforms, blockchain platform as a service, consensus mechanism. So all that is already, like, I cannot say that this is the past, but this is not the main focus of innovators. The most focus of innovators is this part. So we have like decentralized finances, which is currently on the top. So every finance model, lending, escrow, exchanging assets, and everything went decentralized because of the smart contract capabilities. So we have decentralized exchanges, so you can exchange assets without any intermediation of the third party, straightforward on a blockchain. We have a liquidity. So the problem of that decentralized is how you can, how you can provide the liquidity to that decentralized exchange. So we have a liquidity pools, liquidity mining, liquidity farming, and lots of that. We have automatic market making protocols that helps to exchange, that helps liquidity and such. And we have also quite awkward like a phenomenon which is called CDFI, which is currently coming. So centralized, decentralized finances. So we have this decentralized and we have this like awkward, like centralized, decentralized. Why it is so? So basically, all of those decentralized models have some issues with usability, issues with user experience, issues with QIC procedures, anti-money laundering procedures. And the CDFI is about that some of the part of the process is centralized. For example, know your customer procedure, or for example, granting the liquidity for the DAO pool with classical institutional bonds. So it can be so. And we have already some examples of institutional players coming to the blockchain, to the crypto field, and offering classical instruments as a pegging tool for decentralized. We have zero knowledge proofs. This is a big topic, basically concerning also decentralized identities, or the possibility to identify yourself with decentralized manner. So the people are talking about how you could identify yourself without decentralized identity provision, without the governmental identity, for example, about self-sovereign identity, that there are lots of different data points, for example, university, commercial banks that can basically verify and provide that identity of yours. And this is more sophisticated way of interacting in the digital world. So what are the key adoption drivers? So we had this crypto winter, but it happens like every several years. It's like a spiral. And lots of that is also concerning the technology itself. But basically 2021 was quite a year for the crypto, for the blockchain. So first of all, it's a mainstream adoption of the Bitcoin. So after 12 years of existence, so basically, for example, El Salvador basically adopted Bitcoin as a second currency for the country and claimed it as being legal tender. So this is one. Going further, so all like today, I think 100% of all the central banks that are in the world, basically that is standing behind the monetary policy of the countries, is looking for, possibility to use the blockchain for central bank digital currencies. So when we are speaking about the money, it's not so straightforward. So there are a lot of different kinds of money. So there is electronic money, there is a commercial bank money, there is a central bank money, and all they are different, basically. They're not the same. And in the essence, the central bank money is the cash. So the cash and the reserves that every commercial bank is holding at the central bank. So the central banks are looking forward to digitize that. It is quite a different, quite a challenging topic. And I can say that honestly, because we as a company participated in the European Central Bank experimental project building the central bank digital currency infrastructure. Decentralized finances. So I already mentioned that. So it was a big pusher for, for the market. So we had centralized exchanges, Binance, Kraken, lots of different exchanges that basically they worked as intermediaries between the people. And people went to the decentralized. So how you could interact on the blockchain in a decentralized, full decentralized way. So DEXs, swaps, liquidity pools, lending pools, flash loans, lots of different things happened. And that pushed the market quite well. Explosive growth of NFTs and DeFi tokens. This is a painful topic for me. People are quite, interested about NFTs, and this is a quite a story. It's like a, something big and huge, metaverses, NFTs, digital art, non-fungible goods, and etc. GameFi, like play and earn models. But people also should understand that to manipulate the information on the blockchain today is so easy. So lots of those NFTs, lots of those big sales that you see, it is very easy to wash trade them. So you can be an issuer and the buyer and the seller at the same time. Flash loans, which is basically grants you unlimited liquidity. What is a flash loan? So it is a loan basically for one block. So for example, on Ethereum, you have like 5 to 15 seconds blocks. So basically, you should use that unlimited liquidity. So basically, you could take around 1 billion worth of Ether or USDT or some other currency, and you could use that to trade in that one block. So basically, after that one block, you have to return the and lots of those NFTs are hyped through that wash trading today. And it is very difficult to understand what is true, what is good. But I think overall model is really great. But how the people is misusing that and how the hype is pushing for manipulation, that is not good. We also have a new generation of network boom. So we have a third generation networks, Solana, Symbol, Cardano. I cannot say that Binance is a third generation because it's a clone of Ether, but all those basically, Polkadot, yes, it's a big thing because of the chain of the chains, multi-chains, multiverses, and all that. So technology itself and the industry is not standing. So basically, it is constantly innovating and looking for new models, new enhancements, and such. Progress in blockchain interoperability. So we have bridges, lots of different solutions to connect one blockchain with another. Of course, lots of those are the pains of the security as well. So we have lots of, for example, Solana bridge wormhole was hacked for like 500 million of worth in assets, so 500 million. So it is like something that is working as a honeypot. So anything that you build on a blockchain, you should first think about the security and making it as much efficient and secure as possible. And migration from the proof of work consensus to proof of stake and lots of different other consensus models. So because of environmental problems, basically, and governments and central banks narrating that the blockchains are not good for ecology problems and etc., using the energy and not using it effectively. So lots of blockchains went through innovation and invented the new consensus methods, but also to state that proof of work still is the most secure today because of how it works, how it is too expensive to try to leverage that, because basically you will need at least 51% of attack, which is theoretical, it is not so easy because it is at the same time, at the same moment, same block, and lots of different things, like different things. So that consumption of energy, this is the basically guarantee of the network security as well. Still existing challenges. So the years were not so great for private blockchains, DLTs, Hyperledger, Stack, Corda, all these enterprise grade solutions. Because of that lack of I would say, the problem is that they are not solving the trust issue with ecosystem. They're solving the issue for themselves. So like permission blockchains, private blockchains are good when you're trying to solve the problem for yourself. When you have lots of contrahands, you have like lots of different parties connected with you that you're working with. So you would like to have traceability of transactions, of actions to yourself. So in that way, it is good. But if you are willing to solve the problem for market, for the ecosystem, the private is not helping. So that is a big like challenge that still exists. Lack of global regulations and accounting standards. So with regulations, it's one, but with accounting standards, it's a total mess. So even, for example, we are accepting cryptocurrencies as a payment method. We are issuing the invoices and everything, but just to work with accountants and basically to explain what we're doing, how we're doing, and why we're doing, it's a big challenge because there is no standards, there's no know-how. And this is a big issue. It doesn't matter actually how the market is moving, but that takes time. So to build that knowledge, to build that standards, to build that adoption is a challenge. User experience and interfaces. So today it is still a challenge. So basically most of the, especially decentralized finance applications, it is so difficult to understand for just usual person. So technological, also the logical challenge is quite high. There are lots of different approaches. So game finances is one of that. So you can build some process, some financial process as a game. So liquidity mining or farming. So I know the project that built something similar to farmland. So basically you're farming crops, you're doing, but basically by doing so, by playing the game, you are interacting with DeFi products, lending, mining, minting, and lots of different features that is as a financial instruments behind that. So, and what's next? So I know that I have a limited time and I would still want to have some questions. So to happily ever after, so what is coming? So for you to understand how to use blockchain and why to use this, I think important just to remember one word, so atomic. So programmable assets, programmable trust, ownership, money, identity, contract. So all that can be done on a blockchain. Not all blockchains, so not all blockchains have contracts, not all blockchains have the same architecture. So you have to investigate if it is capable. So building something on a blockchain, you also have to deal with ecosystem problems. So you're building your own ecosystem, your own user ecosystem. So usually you will have, or you will want to have the token. So lots of projects are building token economy models. And lots of those projects are presenting that as a table, like where founders, blah, blah, development and percentage and how many tokens. But this is not a token economy. This is token allocation table. Token economy is basically, you should think first about the economy, about the economical model. Who will be your users? Who will be your services? What will spend on what? How it will be rewarded? And how that token will circulate around that mechanism that you have. So this is the economy, and lots of that is something similar to combinatorics and working with numbers, statistics, probabilities, and such, because it is very difficult to build a very good, solid token economy for the ecosystem of your users to use. So the blockchain benefits. So first of all, blockchain promises the transparency. For some projects, it's a big issue as well, because that transparency will basically leave you or leave your business model vulnerable or naked. So that is also important. So for example, to put data, private data or some data on the blockchain is not a good idea. Blockchain is better to use for like a data privacy management. So you can use that, you can use blockchain for that. Second thing is security. So today it is one of the most secured infrastructures. So public blockchains were never hacked in the history. And all the hacks that happened is usually with private keys. So it was hacked a wallet or a human error, or someone misplaced the keys and then someone got the access. Traceability. So you can easily track and trace any transactions through all the history of the blockchain. So for example, that's why the blockchain is not the best for money laundering, because any transaction can be traced and it can be done in a real time. Non-repudiation. So it means that basically you cannot deny that it's your transaction, because basically if you have announced that transaction and it was signed and it was processed by the blockchain, there's no way of deny that, as well as irrevoke. Like you cannot revoke that transaction and you cannot change that transaction information, never. And there is no person that does that. There is no authority, there is no administrator that can basically edit or change the information on the blockchain. So what are unique benefits of the blockchain? So first of all, it is decentralized consensus. This is the biggest innovation today. So how to work in a fully decentralized environment, how to trust the billion worth of transactions running on decentralized infrastructure without any authority basically granting that trust. Second of all is self-governance. So there are lots of different models, DAOs, decentralized autonomous organization, governance models and such. So blockchain allows you to have fully decentralized models. Of course, not all models that today is on the blockchain is fully decentralized. So this is one of the issues as well. And some of the blockchains, not all, has the censorship resistance. So it means that it is accessible by anyone and you can do whatever you want and no one has rights to prohibit that. So it is a powerful tool. Also, it has some responsibilities behind that. So blockchain myths, I already mentioned some of them. So cryptocurrencies and blockchain is harming the ecology, so it is not so. Basically, lots of blockchains is changing that that consensus model to more ecology-friendly models, but also having in mind that all this energy consumption is basically that security that is behind that network. So blockchain and cryptocurrencies are used by tech anarchists and marginals. So it is not true. So lots of institutional investors, lots of commercial institutional banks, and as well as financial institutions are already running on a blockchain. They are already experimenting with that. And it is not so that only the tech anarchists are here. So cryptocurrencies are not the best for money laundering because of traceability. So we know that because we work with some, FIUs and financial crime investigation teams. So it is so easy to investigate. It is so easy to, follow that path of breadcrumbs, that it is much easier than on a commercial banks, because you have to ask, for permission, for information, and do a proper investigation. And with a blockchain, you can, you can automate, you can put a big data analysis on top, and you can track and trace what is happening. And you just need, entry and exit point, and that's it. And it always has that entry and exit point. So with real cash, real money, real economy. So tokens and cryptocurrencies are not stored in the wallets. all tokens are in the blockchain and it is never in the wallet. So this is a very important thing. So lots of, even regulators don't understand this. So where is underlying value of cryptocurrencies? So where is the underlying value of money? Where is underlying value of anything? What is underlying value of economy? So I think that trust, that, that decentralized ecosystem that you can trust and rely is quite a valuable thing. And that is a big value to pay for. And censorship resistance, traceability, transparency, those are the features that are worth money and worth investment. So this is the underlying value of the cryptocurrencies, because cryptocurrencies are the payment methods on the blockchains to pay for that, for that feature, for that infrastructure. So how to think, blockchain? So first you need to think decentralized. So there are lots of, business models that are so centralized that will never fit on the blockchain. So there are some business models that are not built for the blockchain because how they work. And those, sometimes even those business models are the, those which are deemed to be changed by the blockchain infrastructure. For example, intermediary business, brokers, dealers, and lots of different, parties that are today granting that trust between two parties. So tokenomics is basically, it consists of two words, token and economy. So you always need to think about the economy. You always need to think about the business model and how that economy of your ecosystem will work. Because what you're building is ecosystem. You are building the ecosystem of your users, of the guys who are trusting you as well. And in
Andreas,
most of, yes.
Apologies. This is Mirko. I would ask that you come to an end because
yes, I am.
Okay, thank you very much.
And in most of the cases, you will need to sacrifice something. So usually it is centralized decisions, centralized authorities, managements, administrators, and even identification. So usually with blockchain, email and password identification never works. And not all business models need blockchain. So it is also, this is so not every business model fits the blockchain, and the blockchain doesn't solve some issues of the business models. So what's next? So Gartner says that in 2023, at least 35% of all the enterprise blockchain applications will be integrated with decentralized applications and services. So it is all about decentralization. It is a powerful thing, but still you have to be responsible, because that decentralization is a key. And my final words, so basically this is my final exit slide. So sometimes it feels like a magic. So, and Arthur Clarke said that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from that magic. So I encourage you to create that magic. I encourage you to, go beyond. And if you have any technical challenges, understanding, or you need help, we are always here to build that magic for you. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Andreas. So
you're welcome.
Quite a bit of an overview. I had asked whether people had questions in the chat. Currently, I see nothing. I would move on. I have actually one question while I change, which is kind of obvious. What would be your best way to get an education in blockchain? Is it simple for developers to switch, or what would you recommend? What is a good resource?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have experience working with developers, and it is so that basically young junior developers is taught easier because of the mind shift that basically is needed to work and understand how to build. So we have lots of experience working with senior devs, and sometimes they're feeling as juniors because this is so different. They are always willing to put everything on Oracle database or somewhere. It is always a challenge to find that mindset of decentralized architectures. So as a best tool, I think is we're building some information, some learning courses. I know that Civita's bid degree project is also opening some courses for developers to to understand, to learn about the blockchain. And I think that in the universities there's also a big push for putting that blockchain course in action, but it is slow and as always. So I think the best is to learn from information that is on the internet. So there's lots of information, and to be open-minded, because that is the essence.
Thank you very much. Actually, I could add, because this is already our second blockchain, EU-funded blockchain project. We had quite big contact to the University of Nicosia, to which, to my understanding, has quite a set of university training. So I'm going to move on really quick, like taking only 2 minutes to mention Trublo, because we have quite a bit of practical examples, actually, how you can use blockchain with presenters from 3 companies and projects that are funded by Trublo. And I quickly need to change to the presentation. Quick. So very briefly about Trublo. I really only take like 1.5 minutes, because Andreas had this nice formula how to remember blockchain. What I can offer is even simpler. It's just 2 numbers. It's 75, because 75,000 is what we are offering to early stage blockchain ideas in a certain setting. Trublo, the name is actually for trusted and reliable content on future blockchains. I think that makes sense. I mean, it's even another layer on top of what Andreas had just talked about, like applying the technology to have content even down to information and data bits that we can trust in a model that I would describe as distributed trust, meaning that I might not entirely trust Andreas, but we can do a deal on these kind of new infrastructure, exchange goods, and we just know that it will go through because we can trust the network between us. So I think you are faster reading than I can talk, so I switch this chart and I don't go into details because we're simply running out of time. Maybe this, on our webpage, you find all the information on how to apply in the current Open Call 3, which is open until March 30. So there's ample time and the application is not that big. Maybe just that very briefly, this is how we work. We first select for first funding periods of 9 months for 75,000. And then there's an option for a subset of all the funded companies to go into a second phase to work on actual products. This will be 9 out of the 45 projects that we initially fund. But of course, we want sustainability for all of them. Hopefully we have our demo days, and hopefully we have our community even beyond of what Trublo is doing. If you're interested either in advanced projects or in applying, there's a page on our web page where all the projects are listed up with a short profile. That's actually an advantage. And finally, then I'm already through. We have an, I would say, almost weekly newsletter, because this week I haven't sent out one, which is called 5-Minute Blockchain. It's an offer to learn about models and so on. So I give over to Philippe from Sharp to briefly present the key idea of Sharp from the company Polyfin.
Thank you, Miko. And I really thank Ingaza and Mir-Christine for the whole organization. And thank you, Andreas, for the nice presentation. So I'll be briefly presenting the Sharp project, which was selected by Trublo's during the second open call. Thank you, Mirko, maybe for the next slide, to say a few words about Polyfin, which is the company behind this project. We're based in Paris, France. We're quite tech-oriented, as we have many years of experience in, let's say, Web3 protocols and applications. We previously worked in consulting companies, and we developed several applications. Last year, we had a focus on a protocol which we released at the end of the year. It's called the Holium protocol. It's focused, it's an free and open source protocol that tries to foster collaboration around data transformation pipelines, and it's backed technically by IPFS, which I'll talk about in more details later, and by WebAssembly. If you're interested, this is the URL. And yeah, for a few months now, we've been more and more focused on data storage, because we think that in Web3, there's much interest in smart contracts, in tokenomics, and there's room for that, but there's also room for very interesting applications on data storage per se. And so what we're trying to do with the Shard project in particular is very precisely that we're trying to build a high-level configurability tool for data storage in Web3 environments. So I'll try to explain that with the next few slides. Thank you, Mirko. So a slide about the basics. As you may know, blockchains aren't basically initially tailored for data storage, or at least most of them are not tailored to hold a lot of data. But there's other networks, namely the interplanetary file system, what we call IPFS, which work very nicely hand in hand with other Web3 protocols, with other blockchains, to store and to communicate data. On top of this network, on top of IPFS, it's been running now for a year. We have Filecoin, which is a token and a network. It's a blockchain as well, and it provides the economic incentive for data storage provider and data clients to sign deals, and for clients to find providers for their data to be stored and to be shared across the network. So IPFS holds the network, the storage and communication network, while Filecoin provides the open market. Yeah, thank you, Mirko, for this slide. And the basic issue with Filecoin, if we stay with Filecoin and only Filecoin, is that there's a huge diversity of storage provider. There's nodes on different continents, providing different bandwidth characteristics. The electricity they may use may come from different types of production, and so there's room.
Sorry.
No worries. Yeah, I can't see my slide.
Yeah. Wait, I get it.
No problem. And so we basically think that if clients have to find a unique storage provider and sign deals themselves with each of these storage providers, there's still room for optimization. And so what we're trying to do is the possibility for the client to define their precise expectations when it comes to redundancy, a specific geographical location, characteristics in terms of speed, and for our trustless protocol to autonomously try to solve the linear problem, find the storage provider and sign the deals in their names. So what it helps to do is that instead of the clients to watch which storage providers are available at every given time, then they may express their wish once and for all, and let the protocol find the right storage providers continuously in time, and sign the deals when the open market changes. And the reverse thinking also works. If one client comes and wants to store one bit of data, he may pay for it, and if another client comes with this kind of similar wishes, then they may automatically share costs, and the protocol would automatically hold responsible for that. So I won't go in much more detail. Thank you, Mirko. Yeah, I'll spend 2 seconds on the previous slide, saying that we can imagine what we envision also is for these bucket configurations to be linked to the blockchain, so that some information that's stored on the blockchain state, let's say the items in an NFT collection, or the price of a specific NFT item can be used to enhance the bucket configuration and maybe automatically spend more time on the storage of an NFT metadata when the NFT seems to be precious to the client. So that's something we're trying to build as well. Thank you, Mirko. One of the last slides to relate it to the problematic of trust and what we are doing with Trublo. What you can see is that there's unique use cases that can be built with these Web3 protocols, and in particular in data storage. It can be very important for journalists, for example, to use these kind of protocols to achieve real permanent storage and coordinate their efforts toward permanent storage. When you have valuable data, or at one moment, or that valuable data that could become valuable at some point, achieving these new smart configurations can be very interesting. Then you can also try to use blockchains and these associated data storage networks to coordinate on what you want to store. I really liked Andrew's talk about, when he talked about NFTs, he mentioned them as empty boxes. And I really pretty much have the same considerations. NFTs are not only digital art, it can basically be an empty box for any kind of data. And so once you have this, let's say, tracked and certified data on chain, then you must coordinate to know how you want to store that. And so being able to use the blockchain state to map it to a bucket configuration is really interesting to let's say, vote with the DAOs, for example, on the content you want to store in this or that configuration. And one last point would be, today a lot of cases, and that will be my last NFT.
Apologies.
Philip, you are muted. Can you hear?
Yeah, sorry,
I'm muted.
Yeah, I was basically done with this slide. I hope the few bullet points could be clear enough. If you may hear me still.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Philip, we're simply a little bit under time pressure. Thank you very much. I think what you're talking about is a new concept for storage, which can be applied to quite a number of use cases. So I would, without further ado, move on to Thoralf. And for the audience, I would ask that we get like until, say, 14:15, 14:20 potentially, in order to give the last two speakers a chance to pitch their projects. Thoralf, sorry for letting you wait. You want to start?
Problem. No problem, Mirko. I will be fast. Yeah. I will show you the project Vehicle Chain. My company, it's Pumacy. Pumacy is a company focusing on product knowledge and product data. That's our motto, exploring product knowledge. And normally our customers are from manufacturing. And with respect to the wishes of our automotive suppliers companies, we have built up a spin-off last 2 years ago, and we started with a platform business. And what we are doing to have an overview of their warranty and safety issues, the automotive suppliers need a lot of data from the field. If I say field, I mean the car in operation. And normally there are opportunities to achieve some data from outside. In particularly, if you look to North America, you have a lot of authority data, and you can read maybe recalls and complaints about vehicles in the market. Normally the Americans write questionnaires and ask questions about the problems with their car. So it's for us, it's easy to make data analytics about this data. But the problem is, if we go to Europe, if you look to the next slide, in America, we get a lot of information regarding the defects, regarding corrective actions, a lot of communication materials, PDFs about communication between the authority to the automotive company. In Europe, you get almost nothing. It's just, there are just, as you see here, the BMW recall. It's just two slides and two lines and one line corrective action. From the perspective of an automotive supplier, that's not enough. And so we try to find more information in the market. And where do we find it? We go to portals, we go to forums, we go to sometimes Twitter feeds, and try to get technical information about complaints, about problems, about safety issues directly from the end user. Yes, and if we do that, if you see the next slide, the problem is that we don't know, is this information correct? Is it relevant? Is the author competent? Does he really drive such a car? Is he trustworthy? Is he honest? Or is he also only a hater, a faker, or maybe a marketer? And so we started to think over how about solve this problem. And our idea is that we bring this information into a blockchain, because we want to find out which of the 2% of the information we find is really relevant, is really trustworthy, that we can use it. And if you look to the next slide, that's our idea, that we use the blockchain as so proof of authority, that we try to find out if we have a person that's for us, it's not really a personal information, it's just a user we have in the internet, but we can find out, does this user has really this car, does he has this information in his signature, and we try to prevent that these informations are in future being deleted, hidden, or maybe changed. And so we think we can put this information in the blockchain, not this information about the complete data, but more the information about typical information of the author of this information that we collect. Maybe does his articles are typically hater comments, are this spam, or is he a bimmer? Does he really knows how to repair such a car? That are really points where we get information about the trustworthiness of this information. Yeah, and that's what I want to show you, and I think it's at the end.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that should be the last chart already. No, come on. Here we go. So final speaker for today. Thank you very much. I think it's fascinating if we could like combine the data analytics with trustworthiness for so many applications. And I think it's very smart that you have selected something very, very specific that is relevant for a lot of people. We see how this goes on. So Mirko, it's your turn.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting us to share what we are doing in Authenticity and how we are helping current and future major problems for companies. And when I say major problems, you will see that one company lost 65 million in their sales in a single day due to the act of social media. The second slide, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
But I'm presenting that information that they basically lost 65 million in a single day based on the acts of social media and fake news. And this is a current problem, and the problem is going to intensify in the future. And on the next slide, we will see two companies that are solving this problem, as these are Derivium and NVIDIA. On the next slide, Derivium and NVIDIA, and I won't speak much about our companies. You can basically find everything online, but I want to mention something that is valuable for our listeners, and that is that the company met during the BlockIS program, and that we participated in many programs together, and that these programs really kick-ass our, I would say, progress, and really, I would say, help us be in this space. So I'll suggest everybody to do so. Join these programs, because if you join them, we will help us, and we will help you to make a huge progress in our major goal that is on the next slide, and that is the building a system of trust. Because with Authenticity, we are bridging the gap between investors and companies, increasing the level of trust in a blockchain-based information exchange, and that is something where you fit in. While we want to facilitate the safe investments and investments in companies that really deserve the investing. So on the next slide, we will present how we simplified, I would say, presentation of this, and that is the securing of the both sides, both investors and companies. Investors from the sudden loss due to the company malpractice, and companies due to the malicious acts of investors that are also, of course, possible. And in a simple system presented in a next slide, in a simple way on a first one. The next slide, please. We are using the two-layered system that consists of AI in its form of a semantic analysis and a blockchain with usual features that include also the smart contracts that are, I would say, basis of our solution, which is presented on the next slide. Next slide, please. Yes, in a much, I would say, complicated overview, where we are basically getting the data out of the social media, then pre-processing this data through the semantic analysis and fact-checking, such as IDMO, making triggers of these hot topics that can occur, and sending these triggers to investors that can enforce the smart contract and claim their rights in a way presenting the bad occurrence if something malicious is happening with the company. And in doing so, we are creating this as a blockchain agnostic solution. On the next slide, you will see that we are aiming to build the single point of truth and to bring these events off-chain onto the chain and create a huge impact, which is on the next slide, where we want to, next slide, we want to create the great impact in not only tackling the smart contracts and their value, and opening up ourselves to the to other companies, and making, of course, the great impact and promotion European values in the programs that we participated, but also to facilitate the growth and enable investment to companies that deserve that. And on the next slide, you will see that this team is capable of doing so, because we have a mix of expertise and approach to blockchain from all different sides. And in the next slide, you will see that we are on a blockchain for more than 5 years from different sides, and that we have published research work, and that we also gained great help in one of those by NGI Tetra. We're thankful that our team member has hands-on experience in developing blockchain solutions, and that we both presented in some major blockchain events, and that we were part of some of the major programs. Of course, what is also interesting, and I would like on the next slide to kickstart the discussion, is that we founded an NFT startup back in 2018, and it really went through all of the stages of abandoning it in crypto winter, of using some other solutions to, I would say, to bring the blockchain onto it and to create something new, and led us to meeting Derivium as a great company, that we are now building something great that is, I would say, a product that I would like to discuss with you and to, I would say, further explain how we are helping the world with it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. You are the speediest talker and with a lot of substance. Very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, we're a little bit over time, but I hope that what we presented in like 1 hour and 18 minutes was valuable to everyone. And potentially to summarize, to say this, yes, it is kind of complicated, but yes, it is quite promising what's going on there. And I think what Tetra and Trublo are trying to do is lower the barriers, like get together European approaches, European variety as well. Maybe that's important to me. We are not just looking for scale-ups that are getting venture capital in the traditional way. There might be companies that are where this is exactly the right model to get a lot of money from external investors and scale to really, really big solutions. But I believe in order to get what we all hope for from Web3, there should be other models as well. Open source, non-profits, all kinds of collaborative approaches. And I think what that makes it so interesting right now. We can, as entrepreneurs, as fire starters, create something entirely new. And I hope that came across. So are there any imminent questions? I think there was one that was asked before, and I have an answer to that. The question was whether it's possible to use blockchain for smart cities. And the quick answer to that is that we have one project that's actually trying out exactly that. They want to collect more data on the better use of resources in a Trublo experiment now. And the idea is that they want to collect the data of whether the choices made for a smart city are actually better for the environment, and prove that by storing the information and the achievements on a blockchain so that it's undisputable. So that's a quick answer. I would ask the person who asked this question to reach out to us, and I can get them into contact with this initial group. And I think then there will be much richer answers as well. Inga, I'm looking at you. Shall we go into I'm not sure, because when you're presenting, you can simply not see whether there were questions asked. If somebody wants to ask a question, it's your chance right now. Otherwise, I would call it a day. Thank everyone from the speakers, specifically Inga and her team, for taking a lot of effort to organize that with us. It's very a pleasure that we work together this way. And chances enough. No, I think we answered all questions. So that is good achievement. Thank you all so much, and be in touch and watch this space.